On the hunt for comfortable, timeless Western boots? You already know the best place to shop for quality boots is at your local Tecovas store. So stop by Tecovas Nashville, at the Mall at Green Hills, or on Broadway by Ryman Auditorium. That's right, you now have 2 locations to choose from. Grab a cold one as you shop and get fitted by a pro. Tecovas Nashville is at your service, and you can find your perfectly fitted dream boots with the help of their expert staff. Everyone will be asking where you got your sick new boots, but I won't be asking because I know they must be Tecovas. That's TECOVAS.com. Don't go gently, y'all. Today on CityCast Nashville, our executive producer Whitney Pasterek is talking to Vice Mayor Angie Henderson all about the Greenways. Since it's finally cooling down around here, we wanted to give you the scoop on our amazing network of walking, skating, biking, and maybe even commuting trails. They're talking about the challenges our Greenways are facing as Nashville grows and how you can encourage our leaders to build more of them. Spoiler alert, this might involve voting for the transit referendum on November 5th. CityCast Nashville is presented by our exclusive launch sponsor, Tecovas. It's Monday, September 30th. I'm Grace Fuse, and this is what Nashville's talking about.
Vice Mayor Henderson, thank you so much for joining us today. We are here to talk about something that I know is near and dear to your heart, and that is Greenways.
I always love to talk about Greenways.
What makes them so special?
So I think for Nashville in particular, as large as we are and as beautiful and green as we are, these are pathways that are part of our parks system. They augment and connect our parks. I think ideally they would connect a whole bunch of civic assets, right? Schools, libraries, transit. And there's been a little bit of tension, I think, in the conversation about, are these wholly, solely of and only for parks and recreation, or are they indeed part of our transportation network?
We've got dozens of miles in our system right now, and there's actually a plan to get us even more. Where are we headed?
So I think you've seen an interest from the council in this and in previous recent administrations by funding and staffing more Greenways design positions specifically. And so I think Nashville always struggles somewhat in matters of scale and in building networks. I think in so many ways, that's why our transportation program is really important. And that is why we make sure when we have plans that we have the appropriate staff to implement those plans and build networks. And so I think at present, a lot of Nashvillians have a kind of a favorite Greenway to which they drive.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, my favorite Greenway is Shelby Park Greenway, to which I drive on a daily basis.
Right. And so I think what we're hearing from Nashvillians, and I know a lot of council members concur in all things, whether it be sidewalks or bikeways or greenways or transportation system, we have to build these networks and connect them intentionally. And it is insufficient for our greenways, in my view, to just remain a place that we drive to and recreate. They absolutely have to be low speed, safe, enjoyable. They have to accommodate folks, but especially in suburban areas, I would say, Whitney, and I represented a suburban district. You know, I have to talk a lot with constituents about why the math for sidewalks does not work when you reside in an acre situation, right? Like it will never pencil out for 526 square miles to put in sidewalks along all these residential streets.
Right, because they're insanely expensive.
Correct.
Why would a Greenway be cheaper?
It is quite a bit cheaper because often you're working in floodplain. You have a flat area. It's not a massive stormwater project. Any sidewalk project is about 70% a stormwater project. That's where your cost is. When you have to pipe over that ditch and put the sidewalk on top. And so our 2017 walk and bike strategic plan contemplated making connections to greenways through what were conceptually called neighborways. So that would be internal to neighborhoods, typically with a more suburban pattern. You would calm that traffic. I talk a lot about safe routes to parks, right? It is a system failure when, if you reside next to a park or near to a park, you have to get in your car to drive your family there safely. And so When I was first running for office in 2015 out in Bellevue, approximate to that Harpeth River Greenway, talking to folks in adjacent communities about what they wanted and needed, and, hearing the story of a young family that literally put their children's little bikes in the back of the minivan and drove over there because it wasn't safe for them to kind of leave their subdivision, get on a sidewalk, cross Highway 100. And that's a project really that I am most proud of from an infrastructure perspective, extending the sidewalk network, right? Like looking at our parks, looking at our greenways, where are approximate assets and resources and residential density, and how do we connect those?
You mentioned the sort of struggle and back and forth of the greenways as transportation versus recreation. I certainly know that anyone who's been on a greenway in the city has experienced these sort of walkers versus recreational bikers versus Tour de France people in outfits. Can you explain a little bit about what that push-pull is and how we might be able to ensure that these remain safe and usable for everybody?
I have been saying for a long time to our park staff and our Greenways Commission, our kind of standard specification for greenways needs to be wider. A lot of the greenways that I've, and invariably there are going to be places where you have pinch points and constraints. But I think as we do more greenways planning and network building, we have capacity issues because where it was just sort of found space decades ago, lay down a path, and we did not anticipate necessarily the growth that we would have and the popularity. But also, too, it speaks to why we lack other connections. And so people will always find the best, easiest, safest path to get to where they need to go, right? And if they feel unsafe on the roadway, they will choose the greenway instead. And then that's why sometimes you kind of get in a tension there. And, also it does go to manners, right? I mean, if you're in a shared space, you can't be the zoom kind of person going high speed, right? You have to respect the fact there's older people here, there's kids here, there's pets here. But sometimes it is just like a capacity issue. There are places where it's both and, right? Like you have to make what you have safer, whether, that can't all be accomplished through signage and public education. Sometimes it really does need to be widened. And then additionally, you need to build other pathways for folks. There do need to be better bikeways and neighborways so that, this one segment of Greenway, Shelby in particular, it's not the only way to get from point A to point B. We would be a healthier, less smoggy city if we could get better bikeable networks. So I think we've struggled as a city through various fits and starts about growing our bike share. And bike share was for a long time not e-bike, right? And those were primarily located in parks, in areas downtown. They were really insufficient to the scale of Nashville. They were funded through a grant. They were kind of taken on by the downtown partnership. B-Cycle came in. They were, I thought, a great partner. Then they got another corporate partner. Then they started transitioning all their docked bikes, again, right? Not higgledy-piggledy, leaving them all over the place, but literally docked. And so then that precipitated what I kind of thought was just a real sideways debacle.
It was a debacle.
Oh, man.
We don't need to get into it.
Yeah.
It was a debacle.
Anyway, I think we've gotten a little bit stuck then now on delivering of who is going to be through procurement our bike share partner. And we've got to make our bikeable networks work, to make our greenways work. We've got to have bike share as a city, and we can't just have 27 stations. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous.
You brought up something, though, that I really want to touch on because I think it's important, is the idea of accessibility, right? How do you think our greenways rate?
I think anyone that is funded by this city and built will be ADA accessible. And so, again, if you drive your, car and park in your ADA compliant parking space and get out of that and get to the greenway, yes, I do believe that you can get on the greenways. But that's a pretty high burden, from accessibility strict ADA compliance, yes, I think we are fulfilling that. But as far as, well, I live over there and I could literally throw a stone, but I can't get across the street to get to my greenway. No, we are failing.
And there's a utility pole coming out of the middle of my sidewalk.
Right.
That happens a lot over here. All right. This is all really good information. We're going to take a quick break. Vice Mayor Henderson, when we get back, I want to talk about some of your favorite greenways, favorite things to do, and get into all that kind of fun stuff. We're back with Vice Mayor Angie Henderson talking about greenways. Vice Mayor, what is your favorite greenway? And you can't say the one in your district.
Oh my gosh. Well, that was going to be the one I said. I was going to say the Harper River Greenway. I guess the Shelby Bottoms Greenway. I mean, that's probably the two that I have been on the most.
Shelby Bottoms is the correct answer at all times for everything.
Okay.
I'm a proud member of Friends of Shelby right here. What draws you to a greenway?
You know, I enjoy seeing members of the community interacting. I mean, I think in the absence of sidewalks, it kind of provides that community connection. I understand from my constituents, I am not in sort of a regular routine of going to my greenway and walking at a certain time, but I certainly think those folks that are, you know, see their friends and their neighbors on the greenway. It's sort of like, you know, a park, but in motion somewhat. So,
yeah. Oh, that's a cool way to put it. Okay. And this question, I know my answer, but I want to see if you have one. Which greenway is the most fun to ride a bike on?
I mean, the last greenway I rode a bike on was Shelby Bottoms. And so I've appreciated some of the rides that the community has out over that way, whether to Cornelia Fort and, you know, some of those kind of meetups and things. So I just think they've got a lot of space to work with over there.
Yeah.
And in that regard, but, you know, every greenway has its challenges. I know people have spoken to some slippiness on some of the bridges out that way and traction that needs to be added. And yeah.
I will give you my answer.
Okay.
It is the Two Rivers Greenway connecting to the Stones River Greenway. And I will tell you why. Because those hills, well, I guess going up them is not fun, but they are so fun to go down. And when you come up over that hill as you cross McGavick Pike, and then it's just straight down to that water treatment plant, that's a good time. I then have to walk my bike back up it, but going down is a good time.
If you had an e-bike, Whitney, then you wouldn't have to walk your bike back up it. Just saying. Just saying.
Would you like to buy Whitney an e-bike? Email us at Nashville@citycast.fm.
I do not have an e-bike myself. I have thought about it. And, you know, I'm pretty forthright with constituents and folks that I do not bike a lot. I don't feel safe in Nashville biking. I biked much more in a much hillier city before e-bikes. When I lived in San Francisco, my husband and I, on the weekends, we would, you know, bike down the hill and over the Golden Gate Bridge and out into the Marin Headlands. And it just, as busy as it was, even without dedicated infrastructure in a lot of places, just felt more safe and doable. So I am all about more bikeable networks. And I just love to see people enjoying their time walking and biking. And
running. I'm leaving out the runners. I apologize to them.
Absolutely.
You can absolutely train for a full marathon just on our greenway system between Shelby and Percy Priest Dam.
I would imagine, with all the like variety and elevation changes and things. But I don't bike often, but I do see its potential. And I do have immense empathy for members of our community who are making that choice. Because if more people could make that choice and enjoy it, it would be for the better of all of us. And so,
yeah, absolutely.
In some regards, you know, the folks who are not just kind of driving to the greenway to bike, but going from their home, connecting over there, going to work, they're still kind of in pioneer mode. And we've got to build a safer network for them.
Yeah.
You know, I'll often talk about safety, but I'll talk about also like joy, like you need to enjoy it. Like it's not enough for our networks to say, you won't die. It's important to be able to say like, you will enjoy this experience. And so I think greenways are very popular because folks enjoy that experience.
If you're someone who is just getting into the greenway lifestyle and you want to learn how to roller skate or learn how to bike or feel comfortable running on a greenway, where are some good greenways that you recommend for beginners?
So I think the Harpeth River Greenway is a really good beginner greenway. It does not have much topo change at all. It's pretty flat. And so I think that's a good one. Our other greenways I find are no disrespect, but they just feel a little bit like they're kind of not worth the effort to go because they're sort of short and piecemeal. And I don't purport to be an expert, nor have I been on every one of our greenways. So I guess shame on me. In my new capacity as vice mayor, I need to put that as a goal. I need to get on every single greenway. I'm going to.
Don't come back on this podcast until you've been on all of the greenways.
The shame.
But you mentioned Cornelia Fort Air Park here in East Nashville. Again, the best. That is a very popular place I've seen where folks are teaching their little kids to bike or skate or use a scooter.
I love it. That flat sort of paved space and repurposing that for people to learn to bike and be more confident on bikes and for folks to meet up. I just think that's a great place to kind of learn and do in a whole big sort of flat zone. I am so old that I may have in my youth done inline skating in Central Park.
Vice Mayor, can I call you Angie? Angie,
sure.
There's a pair of inline skates in my car right now. I do it all the time. It's back, baby.
Yeah. So I'm like, everything old will be new again. They have very much I can't remember. I think they kind of have a little hot pink and purple happening on there. Like they're very much a late 80s, early 90s vibe going on there.
But Barbie brought them back. I think the Barbie movie made it acceptable again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Last summer, that was a vibe for sure.
Absolutely a vibe.
So,
all right. This has been terrific. And I think it's your passion for not just what our system is currently, but what it could be is so resonant. If people want to join you in that, how can people get involved in maintaining, sustaining, and growing our network of greenways here in Nashville?
Greenways for Nashville is our associated nonprofit. So invite folks to engage there. Anytime and every time, you can always go to nashville.gov and find our park system and our greenway system. Greenways for Nashville partners with our park system to create a really great comprehensive map. So I know we're all always up on our phones and everything, but they still have the old school folded out map that I think is great to see. And so I really do encourage people. We have so many amazing resources as a city, an amazing park system, great greenways. And now we just really need to work hard to link all of those things and build out our networks. It's just crucial for accessibility. And so I will also put in a plug for dedicated funding for our transportation improvement program, because as far behind as we are as a city, 80 years behind, 526 square miles. If we want safe routes to parks, safe routes to schools, building out all these networks, we've got to get some dedicated funding. So
what you're saying is you personally would like us to vote for transit on November 5th?
That is correct. Our transportation improvement program, it is multimodal, multifaceted, sidewalks, signals, safety, safe routes, all those things. So really do encourage people, like if you want to understand how to engage the city and how all these things fit together, just sort of following what we're doing on transportation, nashville.gov, and just give a look to all that stuff. We need more people engaged and speaking up for that. Your city council cares about it. I care about it. Your mayor cares about it. So build these networks.
Yeah, I know. Is Freddie making you say this?
No, not at all.
If you're saying this of your own free will, blink twice.
Blink. I am saying it all of my own free will. I feel really fervently about it.
I know.
We have so much potential as a city, but we've struggled a little bit, and we gotta make this next big step, and we can get there. I feel really confident we can.
Fantastic. Vice Mayor, thank you so much for your time today. And like I said, don't come back until you've been to all the greenways.
Amen. Yes, I will do it.
That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news around the city. Bye!